Hello and welcome to a video on geometric constraints for Onshape on the iPad or mobile device. First, I want to go through just some basic things with Onshape on an iPad. Okay, first, notice you come to this main screen here. You've got your three planes here in the middle. If you just press with one finger and move that finger, you can rotate. Okay. To get it back to where it started, you just got to come up and click the cube in the top right, and you'll see a drop-down menu appear. And I like to click isometric. That gets me back to pretty much where I started. Okay, you have other options there as well. Dimetric, trimetric. Okay, trimetric is actually where we started. Alright, if you put two fingers down, well, that didn't work. Let's try that again. I'm not sure what that is. I'll X out. Okay. Put two fingers down outside of the plane and move. Okay. It allows you to resize, zoom in, zoom out. Okay. And move left and right. Pretty easy. I'm going to go click trimetric again just to get back to my original. Alright. Sketching. Okay. Sketching is pretty straightforward. You click the little pencil in the top left corner and you get a. Notice this is sketch 2, that's because I've already messed with sketch 1. Okay, you're going to click front. Alright, and notice, okay, how the front was selected in sketch 2 is there on the front. It doesn't, like most CAD software, it'll rotate straight on to whatever plane you pick. Okay, Onshape doesn't do this. You have to go over to the navigation cube. And I'm sketching on the front view, so I'm going to rotate to the front and kind of move it over. Alright. I'm just going to draw something. So the line tool, okay, on this specific program, okay, you click once where you want it to start, once where you want it to end, okay, and then you can keep going. It's pretty intuitive, and it'll recognize where your touches are for the most part. Okay, so now I have a shape. It's closed. If I want to extrude that shape, all I have to do is click the green check mark, or the check mark next to sketch 2 in the bottom right corner. Okay, that ends my sketch. I always like to, before I extrude, look at an isometric view or trimetric, it doesn't really matter. Just something with a little more, okay, I can see the 3D a little bit better. Okay, and then I go and I'm going to click that circle up in the top left. Alright, and I have a bunch of options here. I'm going to click extrude. Notice there's no entity selected. So I gotta click the shape that I want to extrude. There we go. And then I can either drag that arrow to make it bigger or smaller, or I can set a specific depth on that right box. Okay, let's go make that 2 and hit check. Alright, now this says blind. I'm going to leave it there for now, and I'm going to show you how that could be different in a second. So I'm going to hit check at the top. There we go. Now if those planes bug you, you don't want those, the front, right, and top plane there anymore, you can always go over to the left side of your screen. You see top, front, and right underneath origin. You can turn those off, and it'll get rid of them. If I just click the eyeball next to them. Okay, I can get rid of the origin as well. Okay, so there's my shape. Looks pretty good. I'm going to sketch on the top of this. So I'm going to click sketch, click the very top. Alright. And now when I rotate, you notice if I hit top, it's not going to be straight on view. It's going to be a little rotated. So I'm just going to try to get a view that's pretty good. I have a pretty good idea of what's going on there. Alright, looks good. Something like that. Okay. Alright, and I'm going to make another part. Let's just use the corner rectangle tool. So the corner rectangle tool you see in the top left. I pick one corner, I pick the next corner, and now I have a rectangle. Okay, if I want to dimension that, I can go down and click the dimension tool right there. And I can click one corner. Alright. All I did was click each corner and then click the number. Let's make that 1 inch. And then dimension tool is still selected, as you can see in the top left. So I'll do this distance. And I'm going to make that 1.5. Okay, if I hit the green or the check mark in the bottom right again for sketch 3, my sketch is done. I'm just going to rotate this a little bit to an isometric so I can see it. And then I'm going to go hit the extrude button again, extrude, select the shape I want to extrude. Okay, extrude that up a little bit, and then I'm just 1 inch looks good, hit check. Okay. Alright, one thing I do want to show you though, so I want to change something in extrude 2. All I have to do is come over to on the left to where I see extrude 2, click it and hit edit. That allows me to go ahead and edit this depth or whatever again, whatever I need to do. So we have some options here. Say at the very top it says add. Alright, if I change that to new, notice on the left side of the screen under parts you'll see part 1 and part 2. That added a whole new part. I don't recommend doing that. Okay, unless you know you're going to have multiple parts to a design, and each part needs to be dimensioned separately, kind of in technical drawings, don't do that. I'll always keep it in the same part. So I'll go back to add. Alright. Last thing I'm going to do is, say I want to edit one of those sketches. I can go into sketch 3. Alright, I can hit edit. What that does is allows me to, say I want to change this to 1.75. I just double clicked on that, 1.75, hit check, make that a little bit longer now, and that'll update my extrusion. Okay? Last thing, I'm going to sketch on this face, rotate to, I'm going to pop a circle in there real quick. I don't really care what the dimensions are because that's not what I want to show you. So I'll finish that sketch. That's now sketch 4. And when I go to extrude that sketch, I have an option to remove stuff as well. Right? What that does is it's putting a hole now in there. And end type is blind, just meaning it ends at a certain different distance. But I'm going to click through all, and that should send my hole through the whole shape. Hit check. And there we go. Alright. Okay. That's just a quick intro to building on an iPad in Onshape. But I'm going to go back and hit the back button a million times to get to kind of the main point of this lesson is geometric constraints. Okay, I'll go through that as quickly as possible. Let's get a trimetric view here. Alright. The first one is a perpendicular constraint. Okay, so I'm just going to create, let's go edit that sketch number 1. You go ahead and do this with me. Okay, make a sketch. And I'm going to do all these on the front face. So everything in this lesson from now on, I'm just going to do in one sketch. First thing I'm going to do is just draw 2 lines. It doesn't matter, okay, except that the line should look something like that. Alright? Now we have what we call geometric constraints. So if I go click my sketch tools again, if you scroll down to the bottom, you have geometric constraints. And the first one we're going to look at is called, well, first, geometric constraints don't use numbers at all. They just constrain the geometry, okay, the shape of things. And the first one we're going to use is the perpendicular constraint, which is right there. Okay? I'm not going to select it yet because there's some things I have to do. I want to make those 2 lines I just drew perpendicular to each other. Okay, so I'm going to go select each line. Whoops, my line tool's still on. Undo that. Okay, let's select each line that I just drew. And I'm going to click perpendicular. And notice it pops them perpendicular. Okay? Alright, so if you notice, I pulled up my Sketch 1 thing in the bottom right, my Sketch 1 tab, and it shows you all the constraints that are in so far. So I click coincident, it says there's a coincident constraint there. We'll learn what that means. If it's like midpoint, notice there's a midpoint there. If I click perpendicular, whoops, I should get rid of all my other ones. Click perpendicular, it's just showing me that those two things are perpendicular to each other. Okay? So always come down here to figure out where which constraints currently exist on your sketch, and you can click one and figure out where that is. Okay? So I'm going to put that away for now, but we'll keep in mind that that exists, all our constraints. Okay, so let's do some more practice. The next one I want to learn is a parallel constraint. So I'm going to draw 3 lines, right, and go back to my sketch tools and find the parallel constraint, which is right there. Whoops, a constraint must involve something from the sketch. Yep, that's my fault. I should have selected my lines first, okay, and then selected parallel, and notice it popped them all parallel to the first line. Okay, those lines are now parallel. And moving on, I'm just gonna continue. Let's continue off to the right here for my next one. Next one, I'm gonna make 3 circles. So find the circle tool. Okay, and what I'm going to do is find the dimension tool and dimension one of them to, let's just make that 3. Let's make that one 1.5 and this one 1. Okay, so the tool that I want to use though, the constraint I want to use is several. One's a tangent, but the first one I use is fix. It's the very last constraint. I'm going to use that. Oh, of course, I have to select it first. I'm going to use that on the middle. And notice the middle circle now changed black. Okay, that's because I can't move it. Right, it's stuck there. These other ones, so the 1.5 diameter circle, I can grab and I can move that around. All right. Oh, I should be able to. Unlock it. Well, I normally should be able to move that around. Okay. But the black one I can't. So what I'm going to use is now to show you what the tangent constraint does. So I'm going to select this circle and that circle and click the tangent constraint. Alright. Let's try that again. This circle and this circle and click tangent. There we go. Okay, pops them together. Notice they touch at only one point. That's what it means when things are tangent. They touch at one point. Okay, so we'll do that again for these two. Tangent. There we go. Pop together. Alright, our next one. Okay, I'm going to show you the same thing, only with lines. Okay, so let's draw again. I'm just going to draw lines like that. I'm going to make another circle. Okay. Alright, and I am going to use a tangent straight again to show that a circle can be tangent to a line. There it is. And I'm going to do it again with the other line. Circle in this line and click the tangent constraint again. There we go. The circle now is resting on each line, touching exactly 1 point. Okay, moving on, move a little bit faster through some of these. Okay, one of the most important ones that you're going to learn is the coincident constraint. Okay, and I'm just going to show 2 lines for that one. So I make a line there. Let's say I'm trying to make a shape. Alright, I make this pretty shape, but the last thing I do is I accidentally forget to connect them. Alright, we have, let's get rid of that one. We have what's called a coincident constraint. Okay, if you look, it's right there. And that allows us to connect 2 points that need to be connected. So if I select 1 point, then the other point, and hit coincident, notice how it pops them together, and now I have a closed shape. Alright, I'm going to move on. I keep accidentally rotating this, which is a little annoying. Alright, next one, concentric circles. So I'll just go through that, make some circles. Alright, concentric circle tool is pretty straightforward. You select 2 circles. Whoops, my circle tool is still on. You select 2 circles, and you make them concentric. There you go, just pops them there so they share the same center. Again, I can do that again with those 2, concentric, and it pops them together. Okay, they share the same center. Alright. Next one I'd like to show you, there's actually 2, and they're both pretty close to the same thing. Alright, and that's the horizontal constraint. Alright, if I select a line and click the horizontal constraint, it just pops that line horizontal. Okay, if I click a line and then click the horizontal constraint, it pops it horizontal. Okay, and I can do that with those 2 lines as well. Actually, I selected a point there. Let's try it again. Bang. Okay, all those lines are horizontal. Okay. And you might guess that we have the vertical constraint, and the vertical constraint will make a line vertical. There you go, vertical constraint. Let's go look at our constraints here. Those are all of our constraints that we've done so far. Hey, there's a horizontal constraint. There it is. Okay. So lots of constraint here, midpoint constraint, tangent constraints. Okay, lots of things. Alright, whoops. I accidentally closed out and lost everything from that sketch. Luckily for you, it's a video. You can go back and re-watch it. I can't, so I gotta start over. So I'll start over from where we left off. Okay. So, just a couple more things I'd like to show you. This one's one of my favorites. It's the equal constraint. Okay, say I have a shape like that, and I want that to be a square. Yeah, I can, instead of dimensioning with numbers to get all the lengths to the right size, okay, I can just really quickly use what the equal constraint. Whoops, let me turn off my line tool. I can select the equal constraint, and after I select all 4 lines, the equal constraint's there. What it does is it make all 4 of those equal. Okay? Now, the angles aren't necessarily equal. If I want to make this a square, I'd have to go back and use a perpendicular constraint on a couple of these. Okay, there we go. Now it's a square, just tilted. Okay? And then of course if you want to change the size, you could just use regular old dimension. Click one point and another. And since each side is constrained to be equal, okay, they're all the same, I just constrain them. If I change that to 2 inches, the whole square should update, every side should update to 2 inches. Okay? And then just a few more. You can use that equal constraint on any shape you want, so circles, whatever. And then there's one more I want to show you. Okay, and that's just, you can line up some shapes. So I'm going to put some circles out here. Say I want all those circles to be on the same line horizontally. Okay, I can go up here. Whoops. I can click the centers of all these circles and then click the horizontal constraint. And look, it pops them all on the same horizontal line. Okay? Now if I undo that and do the same thing, of course it'll work for vertical as well. Click the vertical constraint